So now I'm going to give you an overview of the last section of photos that I have. These were the last couple of days. So this was actually Sunday afternoon, and we were traveling to Shangway. I think it was just like a couple dollars, like a dollar, less than a dollar to go through the toll plaza. But you basically you pay it both ways. I'm assuming the money is to take care of the roads, and so but we were entering into Shangway, which is the town where um, or the region where Sandwell lives. So here we go. We're actually taking Sandwell home, and Pastor Lucas. This is YO, our driver, and then you can't see um, Pastor Isaac over here, but we had these guys were all headed back, take Sandwell home so he could see his family. Same with Pastor Lucas. These are all young families. Each of these three men have young children and new families. So, as we were getting to Shangway, I don't know what I expected because I thought, well, it's a lot smaller than Lusaka. Um, and it's in many ways, it's like one of the most rural cities I think I've ever been in. It's very, there's not nearly the infrastructure of Lusaka in Shangway. It feels like much more of like a villagey sort of town. And you'll see I took a few pictures, and a lot of people will travel to Shangway for like Sunday to go to be with family, to go to church and whatnot. And so in the evening there's a lot of people who are actually looking for rides back to Lusaka. And I want to say to get to Shangway might have been like on the order of an hour ish or so to get to this point, but we weren't at Sandwell's place yet. We had to go past it quite a ways. And so here's just a picture of sort of downtown Shangway. You can see the only paved road was that main road that we were on, and here's a soccer field that's near downtown Shangway, and you can see there's residential houses and stuff. And actually, property in Shangway is cheaper than Lusaka, but it's still not cheap in Shangway proper. And so Sandwell actually has purchased some property on the outside. We hadn't reached it yet, so we're headed toward it. Um, this was like the fire station that I thought was kind of interesting to see looking out the other side. Now, going past Shangway, we come to the Shangway River, and this is just kind of reminded me of how dry this was, like the end of winter, the beginning of their dry season, and their dry season is like a few months. And here they're already, the river is very, very low. And I was told by one of the gentlemen that they had not had rain since February, and this was July that I was there. So um, very, very dry, and the river is very, very low as a result of that. So here we actually pulled off to the property where Sandwell was able to buy a piece of property and began building his house. Now, this is the structure that he has so far. He has the funds to um, put for the metal sheets that will go on the roof, but he needs he's to finish it. He needs funds to basically build the roof, the wood needed to build the roof. And so, if you're inclined to help out with that, I would encourage you to talk to Doug or talk to the mission committee at our church just to see if you can assist Sandwell with finishing his house. But I was it's kind of exciting to see that he get his own place, but then it's also just a reminder of um, how different things are in Zambia than from what our experience is. So just a reminder, and Samuel needs assistance to finish off that roof. So I would encourage you to pray about that and consider helping him financially to finish his roof. Now here's the road that we were turning off of the main highway to head to what's known as Ambassador International University. That's the Bible college that Sandwell got his degree from, and actually he met all of these young men. So Lucas, um, Luca Pack, Dixon, Isaac, all of these young men. That's where they met, was at this place. And this road that we're going to travel down is about 6 kilometers from this primary school. Um, it's a little bit further than that to get to the Ambassador University. So it's a long way down this road. Um, just to give you an estimate, that this is, it's not, I mean, it seems long in kilometers, but I guess it's only maybe about 4 miles or so. But this was the longest 4 miles I had ever traveled because you can't travel very quickly. It took us at least 30 minutes from this point to get to Ambassador. And Samuel told me that riding a bicycle from there to here, it takes him about 45 minutes. So if he wants to go to Lusaka, he will ride a bicycle out to this point and then wait for a bus, one of those little vans, minivan buses, and that will carry him back to Lusaka. And from here to Lusaka, it's at least an hour or more. Riding on one of those buses, I'd guess it'd be close to like 2 hours of riding time. So transportation is a big issue for these guys. Um, None of them personally have vehicles. We rented this vehicle that I'm riding in, and so this is also a huge need is transportation. So here's the road that we're heading down. You see very rough, kind of rocky. You with our little vehicle, you could not go very fast, and we were passed by a truck that was going real fast, but it was kicking up dust everywhere, and everybody that drove by, it just basically coated them with dust. And so even if you even if you have a vehicle that can go fast, it's not really a wise thing. I thought this was kind of cute. This is in the middle of nowhere, um, and there's no. I'm like, well, who comes here to shop? It would just be people who live in the surrounding area, like the little villages. They're spotted all around this place, but this is the little shopping mall. And now we finally made it to Ambassador International University, and I got to meet Samuel's little girl, Jaina, and had lunch with Samuel and his the rest of the board. His wife cooked a very nice meal for us, very kind of her. And Abigail is her name. This little girl was very happy to see her daddy, and he was very happy to see his little girl. So it was a nice little reunion, and she's just a sweetheart. She's just a typical little girl. She's very curious, all over the place, um, and just she wasn't too sure about me taking this picture, but she got really happy when her mommy came over. And so this is just Sandwell and his beautiful family. I was so honored to get to eat with them and be in their home. This is a home that they are using. It's from the university. It's actually was a staff home, but um, Abigail works with the university in a clinic, the Chifundo Clinic, which is also on this property where we were at this time. And she's a midwife, and she works with the clinic there. And this is her little girl, and Samuel is her husband. And the little girl wasn't, Jaina wasn't too sure of me, so I was a little cautious. But I really enjoyed getting to meet her and be with them, and she was a sweet little girl. And so this is a picture of the house that they're staying in, and this is by far one of the nicest houses that I was in the entire time I was in Zambia. And it's small, but it was very nice, and it's very Western in terms of its structure and its building and whatnot, and um, very nice construction here. And then this is just a shot of some of the other buildings there on the campus. This is a little Bible college. Um, and so this was like, I think, their chapel in the center. It might have, either the chapel or the library. I can't remember, but it's one of the main buildings. And then we got to see some of the agriculture that they had going on there. And this was a irrigation system that had been designed by a gentleman who had previously been there, but I got to meet on a different day, Jim Evans, and he was very kind to show me around this place that he works for, Family Legacy and the Tree of Life, and that's a whole nother story. But I just really enjoyed getting to see this irrigation system. You can see they're still they were growing some stuff out here, and I also got to see their poultry enterprise, so they had a lot of chickens and kind of a setup here of chickens, and then here are their little chicks, and they showed that to me. And so now that was Ambassador International University. We left there that afternoon, went home, um, and the next day, I believe Monday, I just stayed. I did stuff on my own, and then on Tuesday, Pastor Isaac and the driver Wyo, they took me to a little place um, that was a wildlife preserve there near Lusaka, and so I got to see some animals, and we saw some ostriches and some uh, I guess these are some kind of a boar, sort of like a wild boar, um, and there were some porcupines, and actually they were banging out the side of the wall to get these porcupines to stick up their quills, which made me very nervous. But there we go. There's some porcupines. This was like a warthog. Oops, that's not a very good shot of him, but this is not a very good shot either. There's a lizard there. I should have looked at my pictures a little more carefully. There were some tortoises, and a little close up of a tortoise, and then of course there was this lion. Now, this guy was kind of an older lion, um, and at one point Isaac was standing kind of next to him there, and he actually roared, kind of growled at him really loud, and Isaac jumped about a couple feet back away from the fence, and then the lion got up and walked over to um, the lioness that was just laying over in this direction over here. Um, that was kind of neat. There were some monkeys. One part of this, it was called Manawanda. They had some children who were actually here on a field trip, but they're not swimming because this is their winter time, remember? And so this was not in use currently, but they had a water slide at this place for the children, and so it was kind of interesting. It was a nice garden as well. We got to travel through this with some beautiful bougainvillea and just some nice flowers. But this was Munda Wanga. That was the place that we were at, and it was a nice place. It was definitely not Omaha Zoo or the Henry Dorley, but it was interesting, and I was glad to get to spend time with my friends and visit this, and so it was kind of neat. So then they took me to see the museum, the Zambian International Museum, and I went there with Pastor Isaac and with Wyo, and it was nice. It was very much a learning experience. Zambia is a very young country. It was gained its independence from Britain in 1964, like October of 1964. So basically, they're little. I'm actually almost as old as Zambia. I turned 52 this year. Zambia turns 55 this year. So it was kind of interesting to see some of the history. They're on their sixth president. The current president, Lungu, President Lungu, and I actually, while I was there, I got to read the newspaper a little bit, and because it's all in English, and it was helpful because I got to get a little bit of sense of what's going on in Zambia, and so this visit to the museum was very helpful too, to get to understand a little more about Zambia. While we were there, that same day we went out for lunch. And I don't know if you recognize, this does not look like a KFC here in the United States, but this is a Zambian KFC, and this is Pastor Isaac waiting for our food, and we stopped by KFC to have lunch that day in the Makini Mall, which was where the KFC was. Although I don't see it on the sign up there. This was the picture out in front of my hotel. That's right. So very pretty out in front of my hotel. I forgot about this picture. I don't remember putting it in there. But anyway, it was kind of a nice painting of the zebra and an elephant. And I took, oh, I know why I put this in there. Is one morning I decided to take off. This is the only time my whole trip there I was on my own, because the guys they took me everywhere I went, and I thought, well, I've got to get out and see Zambia by myself a little bit. So did it in the middle of the morning, and I decided I would do a walk. There's shopping mall down about a mile and a half from my hotel. So I took off that morning, headed down toward the shopping mall. And when I got to the shopping mall, there's this large bridge that crosses the highway. So I didn't have to walk across the highway, but I could walk up onto this bridge structure. And you can see the traffic and kind of get a sense of the traffic. This was the Manda Hill Mall. I was actually kind of proud of myself for being able to walk down to the mall and find it. And um, I had passed it a number of times driving, but was able to do it on my own on foot. And one of the things I kind of was enamored with was taking some pictures of that bridge. But then I saw along the way, I wanted to give you a sense of like some of the all along that highway, every residential or business place was compounded. So basically, this was out in front of one of the compounds, and you can see here on some of the compounds they even had concertina wire with glass along the edge, and this was kind of a little bit of landscaping, very dry, um, and uh, now I saw a lot of garbage. That litter was just everywhere in Lusaka, and I thought, well, do they really have garbage service? And I found evidence they do have garbage service, and this is a garbage truck picking up garbage from a local business. My hotel is just beyond this, down the road around the corner, and I passed it. But then when I passed it, I looked down this ditch, this alleyway, right next to that garbage truck, and there was just all of this crap, just littering this alleyway. And I think that it's a culturally, I think that once these people wall off their property, they don't care about this common property. It just looks like garbage. And it's kind of I don't know if that's just a cultural thing, but I mean, they don't have a sense of community to say, hey, let's keep our community, let's keep our community clean. I mean, to me, this was just sad. That was just a sad, but maybe it's just, culturally, it's just a different way of dealing with your community in your area. But this, right next to the garbage truck, that was, I think, the thing that kind of shocked me. Now, at my trip to the mall, I did find something. I got this for Frank, a Zambian cookbook. And it also has it talks about cooking meals, but it also talks about health benefits of certain meals and stuff. But it was pretty neat. I got this cookbook for Frank at the mall, and it even has a recipe for Frank's favorite Zambian meal called nshima. And so here it is, nshima. Frank, you can make this for Mom and I. You can see it's pretty simple, but don't forget, the very first thing you need to do is wash your hands. So I really liked this cookbook. It reminds, and you can even see over here, the next meal, number one step, wash your hands. So this is a cookbook after Sharon's heart right here. All right, that was the end of that. Part three. Sorry that everything went so long. It's just hard to condense my whole experience and trip down into even just an hour. So I don't even think I got it into less than an hour, but I broke it into parts. So if you want to watch kind of my first few days in part one, my second basically tour of the land in part two, and then this was just the rest of my time that I spent there, and it was just a really good trip. I enjoyed it. It was very good to get home and see my family, but I did have a really good time visiting our friends in Zambia.